Howdy Hawks, Logan here with today's lunch options. Today we're having Louisiana chicken sandwiches, fish tacos, turkey chef salad with corn muffins, lettuce and tomato salad, and cinnamon maple glazed carrots. As to why anyone would put cinnamon maple glaze on carrots, I have no clue, but I'm not going to yuck your yum. Hope you have a great day. Bye.
Welcome to a math moment. Today we're going to look at simplifying radicals. Well, sometimes when you simplify a radical, you get a whole number. Take square root of 25, for instance. You may just know that 5 times 5 is 25, so therefore the square root of 25 is 5. But if you don't, no problem, because you could put 25 into your calculator and then hit that square root button, and that would give you the 5. So sometimes when you square root a number, you get a whole number. Some of you may not recognize, like square root of 361, and you're wondering, hey, is that square root going to be a whole number? Well, if you throw it in your calculator and hit that square root button, you'll find out, in fact, that the square root is a whole number. It's 19. Sometimes, however, when you go to take the square root of a number, you don't get a whole number. You get a decimal, and that decimal doesn't terminate, and that decimal doesn't repeat either. So it just goes on forever with no pattern of repetition with those decimals, and they never stop. So we call that an irrational number. One surefire way to simplify a radical that isn't equal to a whole number is just to make a factoring tree. So you take that number that's underneath of it, and you look for any two factors of it, any two numbers that multiply together to make it, besides itself and 1. So one great one to check first systematically is to just ask yourself, does 2 go into it? In other words, is it an even number? If the last digit is a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, then it's an even number. So 2 will go into it. You can even just check it on your calculator though. You could just say 450 divided by 2 and then see if you get a whole number. And you do. You get 225, which will be the other factor. So 2 went into it because it's even. And then to find out what times 2 gives you 450, you can just go backwards and say 450 divided by 2, and you'll get 225. Now you circle the 2 because it's a prime number, meaning it can only be divided by itself and 1. The 225 can keep going, however. So what times what is 225? Well, if you were wondering if 2 goes into it, I suppose you could just put 225 divided by 2 into your calculator and see that it gives you a decimal, so that 2 doesn't work. But you could say, since it ends in a 5 or a 0, that you know that 5 goes into it. So if you divide 225 by 5, you do get a whole number. You get 45. Now we can keep going on 45. Now other small prime numbers like 2 and 5 are 3 and 7. The next one after that would be 11. But let's try a small one in here in 45. If you try a 3, it'll work. You could use a 5 next if you want to also, because clearly it does end in a 5 or 0. But let's put in a 3. If we do 45 divided by 3, we'll get a 15. And if we try a 3 into 15, we'll get a 3. And then 3 times 5 will give you 15. This right here is called the prime factorization, these prime numbers. So you replace the 450 with these prime numbers and just write them smallest to largest. Now underneath the radical, you're looking for buddies, duplicates, twins, doubles. So look here, we have 3 times 3. That comes out as a single 3 because the square root can operate on it. Because what is 3 times 3? Isn't it 9? And the square root of 9 is 3. So that's why these double 3s in here come out as a single 3. Doubles always come out as a single for that reason. See here we have 5 times 5. That's 25, and the square root of 25 is 5. So 5 comes out here with the 3. It lands right next to it, so you just put a times between them. Who's still left in the square root? Look, 2's still in there. So this square root of 2 is still in here. The 3 and the 5 get multiplied, and that gives you a final simplification of 15 root 2. So that is simplified radical form for the square root of 450. Thank you for joining me for this math moment.
Armwood, field day is this Friday. You must have A's, B's, C's for third quarter and no OSS. Cost is $10. Money due tomorrow. 5th period to 7th period. Pie a teacher. Have fun. Don't miss it.